Harwood.
Thank you. Thank you guys for coming out. It's great to see you all here. This is my favorite bookstore, basically. I've read here for maybe 5 books now. The first one was 2009, and it's great to be able to keep coming back to New York City and the Mysterious Bookshop. The funny thing is, the owner of this place, mystery book selling and mystery book editing legend, Otto Penzler, he's put a lot of love into the shop, as you can see by all the books around. So I was at a conference with Otto probably more than 5 years ago, and I was working on this book, and I was thinking about what I should call it, and it was really kind of obvious, like it has to be called the Maltese Jordans. It's like a love letter to Dashiell Hammett and Raymond Chandler and Michael Jordan and Spike Lee and all these people. And so the book kind of had to be called the Maltese Jordans. But there's been a series of Maltese whatever books that are not highly regarded. The Maltese Bippy, the Maltese Terrier, all these weird, and so I said to Otto, like, what do you think about the title of the book, Maltese Jordans? He's like, terrible, not have that, not okay. And so here I am, later, 5 years, reading from the Maltese Jordans, very happily. So I'm going to read a specially edited piece for you guys tonight. This is a little of the ways into the book. Our main character, and I'll disguise it as part of the book. Our main character is Jack Palms, who's been in a series of books that I've written, and he has, in this book, kind of turned into something of a bounty hunter. He kind of takes crazy jobs for money, and so in this situation, he's bounty hunting this guy who embezzled some money in San Francisco and ran away from San Francisco and his bail and his bond, and turns out that he went to Hawaii. And every time that Jack is learning stuff about him, every time Jack hears stuff about him, there's all these weird stories about these sneakers that he's been chasing after and might have bought, and they're called the Maltese Jordans, and this guy is often called Sneakers because this is all he thinks about. And so this is where Jack is in Kauai. On Kauai, he has managed to find this guy whose name is Meyer Modi, and he's captured him. And they're in a hotel room, and the plan is to stay up all night with this guy tied to a chair, and then get on a plane back to San Francisco in the morning. That's where we pick up. Thanks again for coming. I ate a hamburger watching Modi stare at the TV. He tried talking to me, but I offered to shut him up with a pillowcase in his mouth if he kept at it. I didn't want to hear anything until I ate. When I had a whiskey and soda in my hand and food in my stomach, I offered him a drink, but he declined. I had Modi tied to a chair, and I had been eating at the desk. I moved to the bed, sitting on its edge in front of the TV. How much do you want to let me go? He asked. To leave me on the island and just go away. I'm serious. I'll pay you double whatever he is. How much? I took a good sip, chewing a small piece of ice. Who's he? I asked. You don't even know. He bit his upper lip. Listen, Jack Palms, right? I seen your movies. You're good. You were, at least. Now who the fuck are you? I'm turning this up now, I said, taking the remote in my hand. Money, Jack. Listen, I'm talking money. However much you want. More than you've got. I just want to get this job done. Listen, he said. No. He leaned forward as far as the bedsheets tied around his arms would let him. You don't get it. I have something invaluable. Everyone wants this. It's once in a lifetime. What's that? A pair. The pair. Sneakers. I'm talking about a ghost pair of Michael Jordan's kicks that have only been rumored to exist. One of one here, Jack. Never been made, but this pair. And he wore them. The Maltese Jordans? I was only repeating what I'd heard Ted say at the bar Akuda. But it made Modi's face light up like a kid at Christmas. Shit, yes. And they're real. Official. I have them, and I have the proof. I took another drink, put the remote down, the volume still on low. I eyeballed Modi, trying to gauge his level of BS. Ask me, he said. Ask me what they are. Like the book, I said. Dashiell Hammett. Yeah, like the book. But that's only the tagline I came up with. It's a good book, but these have an even better story. He smiled wide. They're the rara shuvis. Dig? In the Maltese Jordans, the shoes are referred to by the Latin name, I think it's Latin, rara avis. Some people might know that. Some people don't. Not really. They're real, he said. What do you think would be the most exquisite and unique pair of Jordans? Signed, game worn, whatever. Imagine the most far out thing you can dream up and then multiply that by 10. My basketball fandom and curiosity, my long suppressed love of sneakers got the better of me. What? He raised his shoulders toward his ears, waiting. Now he was enjoying himself, I could tell. Guess. This is part of the fun. The 63-point game against the Celtics in his first playoffs, the one when Larry Bird called him God? No. Bird said it was God disguised as Michael Jordan. Let's not misquote Bird here. You guys remember that game? Double overtime. So they're from that game? Through pursed lips, he said, Nope, try again. That's really not even close. His first game in Jordans? The first pair of Jordans he ever wore? Nice. Those would be great, but there's no story there. If those exist, none of us has ever heard of them. Maybe they're not even still out there. He raised one finger. You have to remember, back in the beginning, no one even knew who this kid would be. I mean, maybe Phil Knight guessed right about him, but this was just a kid from North Carolina named Michael then. Named Mike. Plus, the grail of all Jordans is the 11s, not the 1s. These just happen to be the greatest model of Jordan sneaker ever, signed, and they're an exclusive, one-of-a-kind, that Nike never even produced officially. This is what the Jordan 11 looks like. Some of you guys might recognize that. This Jordan 11. No, I lost my place completely. Right. So, more extravagant. Think of a game that wasn't even played on an NBA court. Space Jam. The kicks MJ wore when he played with Bugs and Taz and all that shit? No way. Those would be devalued for something like that. What a piece of shit that movie was. Let it be said, the opinion of the characters is not necessarily the opinion of the authors. Space Jam and Space Jam 2 coming soon in theaters get my full endorsement. But still, those would be valuable, right? Yes, absolutely, but not like these. Let me tell you a story. His eyes, his face were cold. He had the most serious look I'd seen on him yet. This meant that much to him. I went to the desk and got the whiskey bottle, brought it back to the bed and poured myself 3 fingers, then set the bottle on the floor. Okay, I said. Tell me. Jordan's contract, Modi started. His love of the game clause. You know what that means? I nodded. Something about him playing anytime, anywhere he wanted. They couldn't stop him. He nodded. Good. No, they couldn't stop him from playing the game he loved. Not anywhere or with anyone. But, he raised his chin. But, they thought this was for games he just wanted to hop into. Summer league, playing with friends, pickup, whatever. They never expected he would need money and want to play for anyone else. Why would he need money? I started to speculate about his gambling habits, what had reportedly been a huge financial problem during the big part of his career. Some even thought it had led to his father's murder. Let's just say he needed big money at a time when his career was in jeopardy, money that he couldn't go to the bank for or even get as an advance from the Bulls. The timing just worked out. Wrong for him, right for the confluence of events that needed to happen to create the perfect storm for making these shoes. I said, you have my attention. Good, Modi said, good. So of course he couldn't play for any other teams, not in the world, in any league, not anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. This isn't Virtus Bologna or some Italian or Euro team with a lot of money. No, this is crazy money, like nothing anyone has ever heard of for a single game. $1 million? What's that to him? I had no ideas. I showed him my hands. What? The King of Malta, he said. Hang on one second. Sorry, I'm going off script. Very controversial move. I had edited this piece down to take out some parts that I didn't think might be so great. But you guys are clearly such a good audience that I'm going to give you guys the full thing. The King of Malta, he said. I'm talking about one man. A shitload of cash, national riches, one game. Totally unsanctioned, untelevised, completely off the grid. The king and 4 of his men against Jordan and the Maltese B Squad. An exhibition purely for the crown, the stuff of myth and legend, rare air. And for this game, one pair, specialized and then gifted to the king. These are the pair we are talking about, Jack. Jordan worn for one game, overseas, totally clandestine and secret. Played in once for a lot of money. A game you know he won. So what? Who would believe this? You made it up? No. He shook his head. Years later, a video surfaced. Copied, pirated, who knows? But it shows up, clips of it, on websites. Jordan playing with the Maltese B Squad. Unquestionably him. The kicks are real. The video shows him signing this exact pair with the king himself and Tinker right there too. Tinker? Who's that? Tinker Hatfield. He's the guy at Nike who designed the Jordans, 3 through 15, and then 20, and a couple others that don't matter. Sneaker legend. Royalty of the kicks. You with me? I was. Later, the Jordans came to light. After losing favor in his parliament, a few years after that, the King of Malta sells them to pay off his debts. He's living in exile. He's got a certificate of authenticity for the kicks signed by Jordan himself. You're serious. The Maltese Jordans. He smiled even wider. Exactly. Like Dashiell Hammett, Jack. Doesn't that make it even more beautiful? Dating all the way back to the 1990s. That's bullshit. You know that's bullshit, right? Now he laughed. Yes! He laughed harder. You know it is. I breathed a heavy sigh of relief. It's a joke, he said. I thought so. It was actually Saudi Arabia, he said. He smiled, but not like he was laughing. More like he was crazy. His teeth showed all the way back to his molars. What? Come on, Jack. Malta has been its own country since 1974. And even before that, the last reigning king wasn't a king, it was Queen Elizabeth. Duh. Are you fucking serious? Don't you know your colonies? Malta broke away from the United Kingdom in 1964. Its head of state is the president of Malta, actually Vincent Tabone at the time of all this. But that doesn't matter. Google it. I took a long drink of the scotch. I was starting to need it. He shook his head in agreement. Actually, Tabone is bullshit also. I'm fucking with you. I just like saying his name. The president at the time of all this, I freaking testify on my testicles, was his successor, Ugo Mifsud Bonici. He cupped his groin as if to offer it up to God or lightning if he was wrong. I was starting to have no idea what I should be following or believing. Sorry, man. I've just been telling this story for so long that I've added a few side flourishes. Makes it fun for me. Anyway, I swear to you I'm back on truth. The president of Malta was Ugo Mifsud Bonici, which also doesn't matter, but I like saying his name too. This was in the late summer of 1996. As far as the sneakers are concerned, man, come on. Saudi Arabia. That's where the real money is. That's the king. The Saudi part is implied. No one would ever think of something this amazing could come out of Malta. Malta is tiny. It's like nothing, except for Hammett. There's that, of course. Literary reference and all. He tipped his head toward the bottle. How about you give me a pull off that scotch there, Jack? I thought about untying him to drink it, but didn't give that a second to linger. I poured 2 fingers into a glass and held it up to his mouth for a drink. He wasn't going to get any sleep on me, and I was actually starting to enjoy where this conversation was going, if only for entertainment. So you're saying someone believes all this shit? He hummed an objection through his scotch, shaking his head. No, Jack, this is real. It's not just me and the Koloas. This thing goes to New York and across the Atlantic to Paris and London. God's truth. It's been certified. I took a drink myself. I needed it. So the Saudis brought Jordan over for a game. They should have played it in Jordan, just for the fuck of it. Right. First time I heard that one. He gave me a sour look. Anyway, the Saudi king at the time is Fahd. Fahd is a huge fan of basketball. He watched it his whole life, from back in the Mikan days through Russell, Wilt, Big O, Clyde, the Doctor, Magic, and Bird. All of them. He's never seen anyone play like Jordan. Freaking loves him. Can't believe the guy. All universe talent. And this all gets crazy when Jordan comes back from baseball. Fahd thinks it is literally the second coming, which it is after that 95-96 season. They went 72-10. The Jordan 11s, classic Tinker Hatfield, best sneakers ever, best record ever. Freaking Bulls only lose 3 games in the whole playoffs on their way to the title. Fahd just goes flipping crazy. And this dude's got money. Capital M, Jack. He brings over Jordan, Tinker, even pays off Phil Knight to let Tinker design the special pair of Jordans just for him for this one game. They're based off the 11s, mostly just a slight modification. But remember, this was back before any changing in the basic style or anything. Not reissues, player exclusives, none of that. This is the time of originals. Just a few colorways and that's it. Did he? What, design the sneakers? He nodded. They came up with some special colors, beige and gold. And you know where the 11s have patent leather on them? Turned it to gold leaf. Real gold leaf on a goddamn sneaker. I sat dead still, trying to imagine playing a game in sneakers covered in real gold leaf. It wasn't easy, but I could see them. The gold, shiny, flaky, like a shard of mica you could peel chips off of and admire the sparkle. Modi just kept going. They added jewels to the upper, rubies and emeralds, and shit they thought the king would like. You imagine? They're not even that wild looking. Truly amazing. Anyway, these are the kicks. Beige and gold leaf 11s. Jewel encrusted, worn by Jordan in Saudi Arabia for one totally illegal, completely unsanctioned game, signed by Jordan and Hatfield. Mint condition. You know Jordan didn't have to work hard to beat the King's squad. He sat back, clearly satisfied with himself, and asked for more scotch. I took a sip and then sat there chewing ice, staring at him. You want to know more about the game? He asked. Who the King brought in to play Jordan? Shit. King's not going to pay all this money for a nothing nobody game. He brings in Allah Abdel Nabi from Duke, Kareem himself, and a young kid named God Shamgod from Providence. You remember God Shamgod. Dude likes his deity-type names. You know what I'm saying. Throw in a guy known as Ron Artest from St. John's at the time, and the King squad was pretty dope. So what's he do? Jordan runs them. Remember, he's just come off a 6th season, arguably his best ever. NBA and Finals MVP. This is your boy. Give him 4 guys with 2 arms, 2 legs, which is basically what the Saudi B squad was, and he's going to win it. That's MJ. That's just him. Part of me didn't care if any of this was true. Part of me wanted it to be true and to see the sneakers. And part of me just wanted to bring this idiot back to Lenardi, collect on the bond, and get it all the fuck over with. He kept looking at me, waiting for an answer. An answer to what?